I'm really excited because we're going to take you on a journey through the Heritage Society and actually some behind-the-scenes stuff as well. So we're really excited to be able to do that. All right. Look over here, by the way. This is the museum building. It was built in 1986 as a temporary building. I'm going to take this mask off, of course, so you can hear me a little better. A temporary building, and now it's become the home of the museum ever since. We never got the building built because there was, well, we'll talk about that actually. We'll give you some inside scoop on that. So come on inside. We're going to show you inside the museum real quick. For those folks not familiar with the Heritage Society, it's been here since 1954, and it really is the museum, the center for Houston history when you think about it, because they've been around a long time and they're consistent with that, so we're excited. This is, by the way, the museum space. This is also going to be the gift shop, so we'll take you over here. We'll show you this. A new exhibit they have coming up, which is going to be opening soon, is about women's history. And we're going to leave it at that because we're going to have the curator on the show a little later on in a couple of weeks talking about that as well. But just some really fun items that support a lot of the work they do at the Heritage Society. I like this, by the way, Our Roots Are Strong. It's a CD all about, from Leah White, all about songs about Houston. Look at those songs. Buffalo Bayou at Allen's Landing, Live Oak Trees, Downtown Aquarium, the Astrodome. Those are really fun songs. $15 is what that costs. And again, it benefits the Heritage Society. So let me take you on some more of what we're looking at. You might have heard about the Kellum Noble House. It's a house that we have it's the oldest house on its original site here in Houston, which goes back to 1847. Here's the exhibit, by the way. Help restore the Noble House. And again, 65-year efforts, what's been happening with the Heritage Society, celebrating our 66th year this year. You'll notice some furniture, by the way, that's not in the house because it's still being worked on the second level. But if you go there, you can actually see some of the exhibits. And the museum is not yet open, so we're going to talk about that as well. We're going to talk again with Alison Bell, the executive director, and learn all about the Heritage Society from the back room. These are some of the items that were found at the Kellum Noble House site. You can look and see some early artifacts from the house itself. You'll notice a lot of bricks, by the way, including this makeshift brick over here, because people don't realize that Nathaniel Kellum actually had a brickyard here on site at the Heritage Society back in the 1840s. These are some really neat items that you're also going to see here at the Heritage Society. This is inside the Kellum Noble House. This is what Miss Rye Noble would have had all throughout her house, so check out some of her items, her dress, fireplace as well. Just really cool Houston history artifacts that you're going to find here at the Heritage Society at Sam Houston Park. We are getting ready to get the show on the road. Let me just get all situated. But again, more items that you're seeing and you're looking around all over there. Okay, we're going to go live in just a second. Okay. Thanks for bearing with us, guys, by the way. It's our very first production of this, live from the Heritage Society with Mr. McKinney, featuring a new guest every time. We're going to have somebody on the show in a couple of weeks. Actually, we have with us next week a gentleman that you probably all know and love. I know he's one of my favorites. He's a gentleman by the name of Michael Bloodworth. He's going to talk about Houston aviation history. So without further ado, let's get our very first guest on the show. Alison Bell with the Heritage Society. Come on down. Say hello.
Hello.
This is exciting. So you may see this familiar face. She runs the Heritage Society here at Sam Houston Park, has been here for a number of years, actually, first as Director of Development, and then made your way as a natural transition to being the Executive Director when the organization needed you most, and we're still in great need of Alison and her wonderful leadership. So sit down, and we'll have a little toast here. This is also, by the way, taking the place of our Wine Wednesday. So we'll do a Toast to Wine Wednesday. It was a great little program at the Heritage Society that we don't have any more right now because of obviously social distancing measures and everything else going on with COVID-19. But hopefully, in 2021, next season we'll bring it back when the weather's nice in Houston. But Wine Wednesday is just one of the many programs the Heritage Society has here at Sam Houston Park. So, golly.
Thank you for coming.
This is going to be great. No, we have a whole list of really fun individuals that you're going to be able to ask questions, by the way. So if you're tuning right now, I'm going to turn a little screen on to Facebook Live. You're going to be able to see, by the way, that you can ask questions throughout our discussion. Okay. Well, Alison Bell, first off, introduce yourself to folks out there that might not know you. You are a native Houstonian.
Yes, I'm a native Houstonian. Grew up in a little neighborhood called Highland Village, right off of Westheimer and Wesleyan. Went to public HISD schools. First started at Will Rogers, which is now the Costco parking lot.
That's right. It's gone.
Do you remember that the
Bank
Taj
of America
Mahal building was That's where the Costco is now.
So
the
for those
old
not familiar,
HST.
the old HISD corporate headquarters, yeah, they used to be located where HSPVA is located now. They used to be located where the old Central High School used to be. And that's actually where LBJ taught debate back in the 1930s, 1930-31. He taught debate over there at HSPVA. So HSD's owned that property for, like 100 plus years.
Right.
But that's where they used to be. And then they decided to move out to Richmond in the 1960s to the old Taj Mahal, which is that brutalist style building right there in Richmond, which is also no longer there.
Which is gone.
It's all gone. LA Fitness is there or something like that.
Yeah, LA and Costco.
Yeah.
Went on to Lanier and then ended at Lamar.
I love that. And you're actually active with the Alumni Association at Lamar High School as well.
I'm on the board of the Alumni Association, try to raise funds. We have a really strong group as well. We're the second public high school in the United States that has an Alumni Association. So.
And a full-time executive director,
yes.
which is also significant too. And you worked really hard to raise money for a variety of projects there. And I think what's really important too, kind of like San Jacinto High School, which is no longer around, it's now in the HCC building. They also have a very active alumni association. And that only lasted, I think, from 26 or so. It was a high school up until 1970 or 74 when they stopped having classes. But it's important to have an alumni association like Lamar High School because y'all get things done and you put healthy pressure on the administration when you have to, because those voices at Lamar, there's a reason why, when John Staub built the 1923 Country Club, the original River Oaks Country Club on one side, and then you had Lamar High School in 1937, also by John Staub.
We called ourselves the other country club.
You see? Yeah, it's a fun little story. So those folks who are new to Houston, that's a fun little tradition here in Houston. We always like to joke about that, that Lamar High School had some, next to St. John, just some of the top families in Houston.
Yes. So, but I lived in that same house until I went away to college. So,
wow. What school did you go to?
To the University of Oklahoma.
Wow, look at that.
I know. I kind of wanted to get away, get out of Texas. Loved it, and then came back.
Awesome. And then and people should know that you have two lovely young men, your boys.
Oh, yes. Two sons, 23 and 21. They're both here in Houston. They both are employed, which is the most important thing. And then my husband and I live in the Heights now. We were in Meyerland and flooded 3 times.
And tell him who your husband is, because he's a character. We all love him.
His name is Chris Bell. He was a lawyer, but he was on the Houston City Council, and then he went up to D.C. and was in Congress for a couple of years, short term, but came back and just still practicing law.
Yeah, he's great. And I got to do a plug for his show.
Gosh.
He has an amazing YouTube channel, by the way. It is called Cocktails with Chris. And first off, those of you who are not familiar with Chris Bell, if you've never been to like a gala, black tie dinner where he's been the MC, you're missing out, because he is actually a lot of fun. He keeps the party going. He's extremely witty, very funny, and he brings that same comedy style, but he's serious too. As an attorney, as someone who cares about law,
sure.
he knows when to be funny, when not to be. But he's hilarious on this show he does called Cocktails with Chris. It's a lot of fun.
It is.
Because you learn about the history of some of these cocktails, like when he talks about Bloody Marys and Cuba Libre and these different gin and tonic type of things. He talks about the history behind them, which of course I love.
Yeah.
And then he probably gets more comments on his outfits.
On his jackets, yes.
On his dapper outfits, which I envy, because he's always well dressed. So he seems to never we got something in common, that's about it, right? But he's always well dressed and funny and on point. So check out YouTube Cocktails with Chris. And subscribe to his page, because he's actually, one video he put up had like 7,000
views,
like within an hour. So people are sharing his stuff, and he's actually going viral and getting a lot of good content. So we appreciate him sharing about Houston history. And he's always here at these events. He, of course, emceed the gala, the Not So Gala, that we do every year at the Heritage Society. We're bringing back that old Not So Gala, which lasted from 1899 to 1915 here in Houston, under the direction of Laura Woods, who's our development director, and she spearheads that project and done a great job over the years doing that. Speaking of the staff here, talk about who all's on the team at the Heritage Society.
Oh, we have, of course, Laura, my development director, who's amazing, teaches me more than I teach
Came from
her.
the Alley Theater, too, and other nonprofits
Symphony,
as well.
Opera. She's great. She knows numbers like the back of her hand. We have a great communications director, Debbie Duty. She's been here like 20 years.
Yeah. She's responsible for the
yeah.
post. So when you
Yes.
follow and like, which we hope you do, by the way, because if you're watching this Facebook Live video right now, and if you see it maybe later on, we're hoping that you like and follow our page at the Heritage Society on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. And the reason is you'll learn some really great things about Houston history.
Yes,
Debbie does
absolutely.
a wonderful job of doing detailed, content-driven posts
Yes.
that are on the page. She researches these items. One of the great things about being around since 1954, the Heritage Society has been, is that you have access to all these great archives, whether it's things that people
Sure.
donate over the years,
Right.
it's all this memorabilia that you guys have. So we're going to be doing some fun show and tell videos about what all is here at the Heritage Society much later on. In fact, I'd love to get Ginger Burney on the show.
Yes,
you know,
Ginger's
because
our curator. She's the collections curator, and she's also managing the buildings as well. So she's got her hands full. We're a little short-staffed just because of the nature of what's happening right now. So we might be looking for some people to hire later. So maybe we could put that plug out because
if you love history, if you love Houston history,
Yeah.
Texas history, we're your place where you want to work. And there's also a variety of, I think, opportunities through volunteering, which we need to
Absolutely.
mention because how many folks on the board?
But we have about 19 people on the board. We just added 8 new board members,
right.
one of whom is Mr. McKinney.
Yeah. I was on the advisory board for
Yeah.
many years. I chaired different projects,
Yes.
but it's nice to be able to be on the board and also to actually chair the marketing committee, which is part of the project with today's vision. And do us a favor real quick, if you can help us with marketing by
Yes.
simply sharing this video.
Right.
That takes a couple of seconds. It costs you nothing to share a video on social media. And when you share this video right now, you're spreading it out there. You're allowing the video to go viral. Of course, the video is going to be on our YouTube page a little later on.
That's right.
And of course, it's also going to be available on Facebook a little later on after we do our Facebook Live ending. But if you share it now, more people will get this video and they'll be able to tell their friends about it.
And like our page.
And like our page. Like the Heritage Society's page on Facebook, Instagram, and
Yeah.
Twitter so you can see Debbie's amazing content
Right.
about the history of it as well. But yet, speaking of Ginger, so like I said, she's our collections curator. She
Right.
helps to put on the shows and the exhibit that you see here, including what's behind us.
She curated this entire exhibit of the Kellum Noble furniture that would be in the house. However, the second story needs to go under a big renovation. So we have it here for everyone to see, which is beautiful. And then you mentioned the exhibit that opens tomorrow, the Women's 100 Years of Being Able to Vote. The Women's Suffrage exhibit starts tomorrow. And Betty Chapman and Ann Sloan have done a wonderful job of collecting great items. And
And if
Ginger
y'all are
curated.
not familiar with the names Betty Trapp Chapman or Ann Sloan, you need to get in touch with those ladies in regards to Googling them, looking at their books. They've
written books.
both written numerous books
Yes.
on Houston history. Ann Sloan specifically on the Heights. She started out with some
And Lamar
fiction
High
books.
School.
And the Lamar High School, the beautiful anthem for Lamar High School back y'all's anniversary y'all had a few years back. And then she also wrote 2 books on the Heights history. So she's got fiction, nonfiction about the Heights. And then Betty Trapp Chapman, she's written numerous books
Yes.
about Houston history, pictorial books about Houston history, and a book about Houston women's history, which is extremely rare.
Right.
She's the only person who really have done that in the way that she researched these amazing ladies.
Yes.
And those books are available on Amazon. They're available all over the place. But do yourself a favor by getting those books while you still can, because they had limited prints. The Acadia book's a little more out there, but when it comes to some of those books, there's not that many out there. So search the web and eBay and Amazon and get you a copy. But to have those ladies involved with
I
this
know.
project is another example of why people want to do projects with the Heritage Society.
Right. We love to collaborate.
All the time.
All the time.
Talk about some other collaborations that we've had over the years. I know the Super Bowl came in town. There was a really cool
that
exhibit
was
for
before
that.
my time, but they did a big Super Bowl exhibit. More recently, we collaborated with Cassetta, which
Yeah.
is a local art organization here in Houston, and Ginger curated a beautiful exhibit of all local Houston artists from the 20th century here.
Early 20th century.
Early 20th century, and then it was called, what was it called? The North and South?
Yeah, it was north.
North of the border, and the Heritage Society was the north border, and the public library across the street at the Julia Edison building did south of the border art. So there's our collaboration. So you could walk across the street and see that exhibit and then our exhibit, and it was beautiful. And like people, we had lots of publicity and felt like it was very successful.
Nice. By the way, we have Sherry Norcutt that timed in, says she loves the Kellum Noble House. Thank you so much, Sherry.
Oh.
We're chiming in with Facebook Live, so if you've got questions for Alison Bell, Laura Woods chimed in, our wonderful director of development. She's so awesome. So we've got a couple of folks watching now, but we want to increase those likes and those views, so that matters to us, of course, and we can always share the videos later on. But yeah, that's just an example of the collaborations that are done here at the Heritage Society. So beyond what we're probably most famous for, which is these historical homes, so talk a little bit about the collection of houses that we have here at the Heritage Society.
Sure. We have 10 historic houses, of course, one being the reason we started, the Kellum Noble House, built in 1847, as he mentioned, by Mr. Noble, and by Mr. Kellum, I'm sorry, and then Mrs. Noble. And that has never been moved. It's in its original location. And the Heritage Society began in 1954 because the city was going to tear that building down, and they intervened and saved it. And after that, other homes were being moved here because people wanted to save their homes. So the next home was the Nichols Rice Cherry House, Rice as in William Marsh Rice, who started Rice University. And then another house that we love that came in the early 60s is the Pilat House. It's from a French family. Sadly, it flooded in several of our hurricanes. So right now, there's no furniture in there, but it's still a beautiful house. We still take people on tours. We have a little cute San Felipe cottage that was built by German immigrants. And then we have the Stadi House, which came from the Westmoreland Historic District over near Montrose, was moved, and it's a great story. I think it was moved in the 70s. They cut it in half just to get it over here. So we have pictures of it coming down the freeway.
On the freeway. They had to go a long route to get here,
Yes.
and it was pretty amazing and remarkable. And you can cut a house two ways, obviously. You can cut the top of it off, which we've done before. You can cut it straight down the middle, and they did down the middle. So, and it was funny because Tosh, I think .0, the comedian who's like huge, did a meme. That Debbie shared. Yeah, he did a meme with the Heritage Society, and because you have this house, right, that was going on the freeway, and it had a tarp on one side, and it was something about COVID. People in Texas take it seriously. This is when it first hit.
I did not
so
see
Tosh
that.
.0 is like a really big deal. My students say, so it's just kind of neat. But those are, and of course we have the St. John's Church, which you might have mentioned.
I love, my favorite is the St. John Church, built by German and Swiss immigrants, and I do facility rentals for that church. So I love working with brides that get married in that church. It holds 65 people, beautiful acoustics because it has curved ceilings. Those are my favorite events because it's a happy event.
Always.
I've already had to postpone several, of course, that were supposed to be this summer, but we've rescheduled for September, October, November. And then, of course, the wonderful Jack Yates house, who most of you, I hope, are familiar with Jack Yates, who started the Antioch Baptist Church, which is downtown near here. And the wonderful thing about that house is that, and his family donated it, we still have relatives of his great-great-granddaughters on our board as volunteers. They're very involved because they want to protect and watch over their ancestors' house. So we love to program around that house. And then we have a small cottage called the 4th Ward Cottage, which was just over here across the street in Freedmanstown. And it's more just a sample of what these houses looked like. It doesn't have furniture, but we want everyone to concentrate on the walls and how many different times the walls were painted over or wallpapered. And the people who lived there, mostly it was a rent house, so you have local maids and different types of, you can tell just the wonderful community that was in the 4th Ward, and we wanted to represent that neighborhood as well. So we have different cultures, different size houses, all from Houston, all about Houston's history, and then inside, when you get a tour with a docent, you can learn a lot more with actually some artifacts.
Yeah, and so we also work really hard to kind of showcase all of Houston's history and all of Houston's stories. So, for example, with the Jack Yates house that we acquired in the 1990s, that was exciting because it gave us a chance to talk about the African-American experience here in Houston. And people don't really realize this, but 4th Ward is just across the street, basically, where the Antioch Baptist Church is, that this was the hub of the, of the elite and of the established African-American business community. In fact, the old Pilgrim, building was not too far away, that brick curved building, on the corner over there by Antioch Baptist Church. So we have those homes. to talk about that experience, but then we also have this brand new opportunity.
Yes.
Talk about what happened very recently, actually, which you've got a lot of acclaim for outside the museum,
Outside our museum.
that connects us with another population.
Absolutely. We realized that we wanted to represent the Mexican-American population coming into Houston in the 20th century. So we enlisted the help of 2 artists and hired them to paint a mural. So it's called the Mexican-American Mural in the 20th Century in Houston. And it's beautiful. It's across the entire museum wall. Has wonderful faces that you will recognize. Ninfa Lorenzo, Mama Ninfa with the parrot on her shoulder. A lot of elected officials are in there. There's the first Hispanic who went to Vietnam, the first Hispanic Rice graduate, the first Hispanic baseball player. It's just, and it has some representational images as well as people that you might recognize if you grew up in Houston.
It's a really great mural, and what's so special about it is that it focuses specifically on Mexican American from the 20th century, because people have to realize, of course, this land used to be Mexico, so we've had Mexican population in this space, for centuries. But when it comes to really evolving and growing, it happens after 1910. It happens in the 1880s, for example. So we kind of it showcases all that. It's really a special mural. And I think we'll probably have Christina Morales and maybe even the artists come on for an episode.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I think we'll do that in front of the mural one day. Maybe when it's not so hot, we'll figure that one out. But it's just fun. It's fun that we have a little bit of everything for everybody. And that's the goal. And we've also done things with the Asian community. We did an exhibit for them a couple years ago. So we always make sure that we include everybody. We reach out. And the church still has the German community that the St. John's Church used to be located where basically Magnum and 290 is in the northwest part of Houston, a town called White Oak, because it was along the White Oak Bayou. And that German community that settled that area built that church. And what's interesting is if you look in the church, and we're going to be doing a future episode with one of my favorites, Kimber Fountain, who wrote the book on the Maceo family, the gambling family Maceos, and also wrote the book about the Galveston Chronicles and the Red Light District in Galveston. So kind of this Vice-type books that are out there about Galveston history. We're going to have Kimber Fountain on for the July 15th show, and we're going to do it live in the church. So it's going to be fun because you get to see the church. So what we're doing, by the way, today we're inside the museum, but later on at the next show we do, for example, we got Michael Bloodworth coming on the show. He's going to be on July 9th, or 8th rather. I think it's 8th. It's going to be the next Wednesday we're going to have will be the 8th.
Yes.
That'll be Michael Bloodworth, and he's going to talk about Houston aviation history. If you've never heard Michael Bloodworth talk, you're missing out because he is remarkable when it comes to Houston aviation. And he's been a speaker here before,
yes,
too.
He has.
So what we don't have anymore because of the COVID scenario is our wonderful Fingers lecture series.
Yes.
And that lecture series took place on
the 3rd Thursday of the month, and we had wonderful speakers. It was only $5. Like you can bring your own lunch, or we can order a box lunch for you. But you come and you have the opportunity to learn something for $5, and these get out in the park.
And some lectures, they fly in or they drive in from parts of Texas, so they were from all over. So, for $5, you could really enjoy it too. And I'll make a plug real quick because I know this would make our director of the month happy, though. The Finger Lecture Series used to be called the Finger Lecture Series, named after the wonderful Jerry Finger, who was very involved with the Alley Theater, he and Annette, and also very involved with the Heritage Society, loved Houston history and Texas history. Was an avid person when it came to the water in the former Navy. In fact, Charter Bank that he found that actually had the little boat on his logo. But the Finger Lecture Series is no more.
All this stuff, my goodness.
Well, I love Jerry Finger, and the whole Finger. They were very kind. Marby Finger too, very kind folks in regards to Houston philanthropy. These are individual names that you might have heard of. They are connected to the Finger family, the furniture company, of course, but they're on more the development side and banking side. But what's interesting is that that is still an opportunity for somebody out there to sponsor that series.
Absolutely.
So I realize this is going to live out there on the social media network thing forever. It's going to live out there on YouTube. So if you're listening and you want to get involved, like I said, our awesome director of development, Laura Woods, would say we have to do our job by focusing on fundraising, which is so important.
And if you become a member, the lectures are free.
That's something else to think about too. A lot of the programs that we do offer them at low cost or no cost. I mean, you could argue $5 is a lot or not a lot. We do it to make it nominal. It really covers some of our expenses, which sometimes we do, have to bring the artists in that come do speak, or, there's certain things that are required for them, which we don't mind doing, but it does cost something, so it's nominal. And the lunches are really cool because to provide a box lunch there for you when you're on your busy 1 hour lunch break, and you get in and out in 1 hour. That's the great thing. So that will come back once things get better with COVID. So we're very committed to bringing that back, but just know that we're going to be doing things live from here on out. So Michael Bloodworth's going to be over at the Nichols Rice Cherry House
right, yes.
next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So like I said, tune in every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Well, keep taking us on this journey through Houston's history. I mean, here we are at the Heritage Society. How did it start back in 1954? What was the reason why it got started?
Well, as I mentioned, the city of Houston was going to tear down the Kellum Noble House, and a group of local community-spirited people came together and saved it. Some of those names you may recognize are Harvin Moore, Sr. He was a local architect. I'm a Hog, who everybody I would hope knows about Bayou Bend, her beautiful house. Faith Bybee is a wonderful woman who her nephew is on our board at this moment, so she's still got a hand in our, caring about what happens to the Heritage Society. And a woman named Marie Phelps and Birdsall Briscoe, another famous architect. They all got together and marched across to City Hall. I wonder who was the mayor at that time. You probably
54. It would have been
Oscar Holcomb.
It would have been Oscar Holcomb because he was in between Roy Hoffines. 54 would have been Roy Hoffines, I believe. Because Roy Hoffines was 50. Yeah, it would have been around that time period, and it could have been around that election time too. But
sure,
but it was Hoffines, Holcomb, then Cottrell, and then
they were successful, and that's where the Heritage Society. It was just the one house, beautifully decorated all the time.
Now, why was that house so important? Like why did it matter to save the Kellum Noble House?
Well, because for one, it was on its original site. It had so much history. As you mentioned, Mr. Noble had the brick making business. Is that right? Or Mr. Kellum? Yeah. And
then Mr. Kellum. Mr. Kellum had the brick.
And then Miss Noble started the school. So it was the Houston's first school. You can see the ads when you come and take a tour of the building. Yeah. We want you to see
it was one of their first schools, which is critical.
You can see the ad that she put in the paper to teach children the different classes. And then it was the first zoo. Can you believe that? It was before George Herman donated the land for the zoo.
Yeah, you're going to be seeing. So the zoo was founded officially in 1922. So you're going to see some centennial advertisement coming out. I serve on the board of Middle Outdoor Theater, so they're one of our partners. Yes. So you'll see some of that coming out. But what people don't realize is, I think Ginger Burney's lecture talked about as early as 1905 or 1907. I forget what year. Maybe it's 1905. That animals were just dropped off.
Animals were dropped off, and they were random animals.
Oh,
they weren't your basic zoo.
From a buffalo to a peacock to a bear, just all these traveling circus would leave animals here too.
A monkey. Everybody remembers this monkey. We have photographs of the monkey that.
Yeah.
And there was a zoo curator that took care of them all. And after a while, I think it got a little out of hand because I think one of the animals escaped and went across the street to what was City Park, which is now Sam Houston Park. Maybe got into a little trouble. So they shut down the zoo. And the next thing that it became was the first city parks department. Mm-hmm. So it was the first house for it because we were the first park.
Around 1910.
Park. Yeah. And so you can even see we have old photographs of the, I believe it's in here, where it says Park. I love it because it just says Park Department because there was only one park.
Yeah.
So,
and this is, by the way, Ginger Burney did a great lecture 2 years ago when we had the centennial anniversary of Sam Houston Park, which would have been 2019. Mm-hmm. And she talked about the history behind the park itself and why it mattered. Actually, I think it was 120th anniversary.
It was, 120th.
120th anniversary, yeah. And she did a great lecture on the history of the land that we're on now. So not only is the structures that we have here important, but the land that we're on is even more important because of just the milestones over the years of what it used to be. And we talked about Nathaniel Kellum for a second. He had a brickyard here where he made bricks off of Buffalo Bayou.
Yes.
So those bricks are rumored to not only have built the Kellum Noble House with those bricks, which makes sense. You got a brickyard, do your bricks for your own house. Also, the houses, a lot of the buildings in downtown Houston, the early brick structures, in the 1840s, 1850s, 1860s, were rumored to be made out of the bricks from this area.
Yes.
So that's just so great. And then what Ginger also talked about, and we maybe should just save it for a Halloween episode, is that people don't realize. Tell people what also used to be on here. Might scare people a little bit.
some cemeteries across
Two
the street.
cemeteries.
Two. One was run by the Episcopal Church.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember what the other one was?
It was a Masonic.
Masonic, yes.
Masonic cemetery here, which was a smaller one. The Episcopal
Yes,
cemetery
yes.
was a larger one.
And get this, they renovated the park in 2009, and they sort of dug up a few little coffins. So we know that they're still over there. They supposedly moved them all, but they actually missed a few. So there are still some coffins across the street under one of the fountains. It's a big secret. We'll have to take you on a tour.
And for any of those grave hunters out there, they did. But Texas State Historical Association came in and they put these plates, these metal plates down after they left them there.
Of course, and they know it's there, and we protect it at all times.
So there are still some spirits here. So who knows? But we don't have problems here when it comes to that. But that's just fun. A little fun fact that if you look at some old early maps, including a map we're going to show you a little later on, because we have some exhibits, by the way, we have some show and tell items too. So we're trying to make this as fun as possible, so that you can really enjoy yourself. And hopefully more and more people I see more people are tuning in, which is wonderful. I also want to shout out to Beatrice Chapa, who is a wonderful children's book author.
Oh, sure.
Yes, and her mom loves Houston history. She also loves Houston history as well. But she wrote a children's book which takes place in Houston called Fruition. So you can look up Beatrice Chapa and Fruition and check out that book. We probably ought to keep
I was going to say, should we
here.
sell it in our gift shop?
It's about Houston, and it's about great inspiration.
Yes.
You know, as a caterpillar kind of coming out and coming of age. So it's a really great book, and I think you should check it out.
We also
Fruition.
have a children's book written by Andrea White, who was the mayor of Bill White a couple of terms ago.
Yeah.
And she wrote a book about the Baker Playhouse, which is one of our newest
Another one of our
acquisitions.
structures
here. We usually don't talk about it because it's a tiny little, you can't go on a big tour. It's a tiny little playhouse. However, and it arrived here in 2010, but it was moved 7 times before it arrived here. So
with the Baker
Andrea
family.
wrote a beautiful, only the Baker family, Captain James Baker. And Andrea wrote a precious little children's book about all its little different homes and how it's finally in its resting place. So.
And the Baker family might sound familiar because you have Judge Baker, who was one of the founders, along with William Fairfax Gray, of Baker Gray Bots. So that's Judge Baker. He had a son named Captain James Baker, and then of course he has a son, the second, and then the third is still with us now. Secretary of State James A. Baker.
Secretary of State under the Bush administration.
Yeah, is still with us, and you'll see kind of a statue of him over by George Bush, a statue by the Wortham Center. But just really neat that family has had that playhouse and it's traveled. So the children's book that Andrea White did, our First Lady of Houston, former First Lady, talks about the house itself kind of just traveling all throughout with the family. So it's a really fun, cute little book.
We sell that in our gift shop.
And we do sell it in our gift shop as well. And whenever you buy stuff here, of course, it benefits the Heritage Society. Yes. Now, we didn't talk about membership real quick, and I want to make sure as people are listening to this, because what we really hope is that everybody out there will consider being a member of the Heritage Society. You can always go to the website, which is
heritagesociety.org, O-R-G.
Super simple. And then what do basic memberships start at?
Sure. So we have a senior membership for $50. We have a young collectors membership for $35.
Nice.
And we need to build that group of young people, because that's going to be the next generation that cares about history.
You know, that's one thing that all nonprofit historical organizations and museums and groups like us struggle with, is how do we get young people, new people involved?
Right.
And a lot of it's going to be the word of mouth and just finding out those folks who are passionate about it. And then it's also up to us to make the events fun, engaging, and exciting and educational, which we have some ideas of doing once things, I think we were really on a roll with some ideas that we had, and a lot of that will come out once we get through with this COVID scenario.
Yes.
But what you can do now is you can join the Heritage Society, become a member, so that you can then go out there and learn about these things that we're doing and help us promote Houston history. Because everything we do is centered around Houston history.
Absolutely.
As we're talking right now, for example, we're throwing out facts and talking about fun things that happened in Houston's past. We're about to do some really cool show and tell. We have
a dual membership, which is just a husband and wife. We have a family membership. Then we have higher levels where you can be a patron, and you get lots of complimentary things that come with it, and tours, and bring your family. So any level, we're just happy to have members and help spread the word.
And there's some corporate levels too, which also allow you a rental package with the house. It's part of the promotion. So why that's great is I can't think of a better way to entertain clients or say thank you or separate yourself from your competition by doing a really fun VIP reception in one of these amazing houses. Because those can be done anywhere, but when it comes to the location and kind of the backdrop for your special event, that's super cool.
Sure.
And I love the fact that we have Kirksey on our board now, talk a little about him, because we have some really great new board members, by the way. So
We
you're going to
do.
see
We're
some
so
fun things
excited.
happening with the Heritage Society, because we have new energy involved, and they're really going to help us kind of build what we're focusing on. And everything we do, like I said, is always centered around promoting Houston history. That's what we're all about from the very beginning. But talk a little about
Sure.
Kirksey, because we had that Zoom meeting today, and we talked a little about him. He was,
Zoom.
yeah, it was
Kirksey
fun.
Gregg is a wonderful event planner in Houston. He donated all of his services for our gala, our Not So Old Gala, because he's very close to our king and queen. They are also new board
Yeah.
members. Duke and Cece Enzel, very involved in the arts community stages, Alley Theater, and that was one of Laura's friends too that helped us, that cares about us. We have a descendant from the Pelot House that we're really excited to join our board, Christina Somerville. Hornberger, Christina Somerville Hornberger. I just always say Pelot, but she's a Pelot descendant. She's very excited to be involved. Wants to ramp up some action at the Pelot House. We have, like I said, we have the Yates grandchildren are on our board as well already. Mm-hmm. And then let's see, Paul Homeyer is a very well-known architect in Houston who's always donating his time and talent and treasure to the Heritage Society. He's joined our board.
And
we have five architects on
Paul
our board.
has a fun little fact too. He has a little fun tidbit of
He was
history.
the first male docent at the Heritage Society.
That's
when
a
he
big
was in
deal.
college, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've
His mother taught
been
him.
involved in different nonprofits
Yeah.
too, and at times I've been the only male in the room
Yeah.
or involved, and that happens a lot, with different groups, But it's just great that he's so energetic and still caring about the
Cares,
Heritage
yes.
Society, all
Yes.
these years later. So it really is a fun group, and we do have a tendency to attract architects and realtors and people in that field, and I think we should, because that's what we do. We're saving these historical homes,
Right.
and they seem to have the expertise and the passion to care about what we do here at the Heritage Society. So,
And
but we're open to everybody, but I just love the idea that we seem
Yeah.
to gravitate more towards those.
And two other
fields.
gentlemen who came to us last year to donate their services for landscaping, our brothers-in-law. Is that how you say that? They're
Yeah.
related. And they came to me last year and said, we were looking across the street and you really need some help at the Kellum Noble House. Can we adopt the gardens and can we take care of it? So it's wonderful. They came on our board. They want to continue. We brought back the grounds. It's called Gardens and Grounds
Yeah.
Committee, but so they are going to be doing the landscaping now for us and donated, of course. So we're real excited about those two guys, Heath Beeman and Nolan Butterfrass. They
Yeah.
came by today, watering the garden.
He's
across the
always,
street.
they're always around it, and he's
Yeah.
always, I always come here, and he just gets down and dirty with the
Yes.
mulch and
Yeah.
helps out. And I love the idea of him, I've always told whenever you're involved in a nonprofit, you should give one or all three. It's either time, talent, or treasury.
Right.
And it's important to show value. I think with him, he has the expertise in the landscaping, and
Sure.
it's so wonderful that he can do
And
that.
then he donates it.
And then he donates it too.
really
So that's
good.
very. What's his name of his company again?
Texas Mulch Masters.
Texas
and
Mulch
Texas
Masters.
Landscape. They're both together. You can find.
But
them.
you can Google that, look it up, and
Yes.
like I said, it's so wonderful to support maybe a board member, somebody who's donating all their time and services
Yes.
to help us make this place better for everybody else, really, for the beauty, the enjoyment of everybody else involved.
Yeah.
And we had a little message, by the way, from Jill Brooks, who said, "You go, Paul." So she's a little shout out to Paul. She's also Jill Brooks is
She's
also on
one
the
of our
board. Now,
board
she's not new;
members,
she's
yes.
been around for a while,
Yes,
which is
she's
awesome. But she's in
great.
charge of our programs.
Yes, so she's going to be bringing us some wonderful new ideas because obviously we are all about video now, so we're going to think of a lot of things, ways to bring us to you all out there until we can be back to be with each other again.
Yeah, that's super important. A lot of nonprofits are looking at that, and we're trying to stay afloat as well by doing that, by engaging our audience. So,
Right.
like I said, like and share. That means the world to us, and we know exactly when you do that because we see all the algorithms. So it makes a big difference.
Yes, exactly.
Now, talk about some of the challenges with being an executive director for a nonprofit, and specifically with the Heritage Society, because there's a reason why we've lasted since 1954 for 66 years, and I think it's the generosity and the support of individuals out there. But overall, what is it like running this particular nonprofit? Because I'll be honest, she looks wonderful now, and you always look wonderful. But I've seen you. Everything from like schlepping, boxes to, cleaning out the toilets to like,
It's so
dressed like this,
glamorous. It's
hobnobbing with the
glamorous
donors
job.
at different events. So it isn't easy sometimes being an executive director for a nonprofit, especially one this size.
Right.
And especially one that you might have read the Houston Chronicle a couple of years ago or a couple months ago when, we've had some financial challenges here at the Heritage Society, and you'll talk a little bit about those. There's a reason why. And it's interesting because I think about what it takes. I know people out there watching think about what it takes to, deal with your AC when it breaks down, deal with your house when it gets all rotted or it gets termites or it gets messed up, the overall pipes busting. But when we have those problems...
Yeah, times 10.
Times 10, and that's exactly what happens here.
Yeah.
So just walk us through a little bit of the shoes of being the executive director for the Heritage Society.
Oh, gosh. How much time do we have?
Well, we'll give it a couple
teasing.
minutes, though, but
I'm
yeah.
teasing. It's challenging, but it's rewarding. My backyard is a beautiful park with 4 feral cats that come see me every morning.
They keep the mice out. They have dual
That's right.
purposes.
They do.
We feed them and take care of them.
Yeah. But I like to have my hands. I like to know what every aspect of it. So I'm not afraid to run across the street in the hot sun to go unlock a door. I mean, you have to just be on, and
And you get that. You get calls from the police sometimes, the alarm trip, because the homeless in the downtown area will find their way in one of our buildings and think it's okay to be in that space and it's not. So that happens. You get those calls.
Yeah, we did that. We, a lot of people stop by and I want to see the rentals, so I do the facility rentals. So I kind of run around and show the church. I want to make sure my staff is happy, so I go get them mosquito spray or make sure that the bathrooms are clean. So because I need my support staff with me, so I want to make sure they're happy, and a million little things in between. But reports and this. I'm trying to think what I do. I feel like it's never ending.
And we used to have a larger team here. I think so many nonprofits, we've had to kind of scale down things, and we used to have a grant writer and people that focus on that. And part of being executive director is having a good team.
Yes.
And when you have somebody who can focus on the collections, for example, the exhibits, the programming, and the fundraising, it allows you as executive director to really kind of steer that ship. And I know so much of what you do is also board development, working with the board.
You want your board to be happy, and you want them to keep them apprised of what's going on. So,
absolutely. They want to be engaged. They want to learn what's happening.
And they want to help, so you want to reach out to them as much as you can, which I'm probably, I'm sometimes of the notion where I just do it myself, but I need to be better about asking for help.
Okay, well, here's a toast.
Yay!
We normally, like I said, it's normally our Wine Wednesday, so this is a toast to Alison Bell, our featured guest on the show today.
Thank you. That's so
yes.
nice
I'm going to have a little more wine. So this is my beet juice. You probably
it's fake wine.
Yeah, it's my fake wine.
Is that one of the Mister McKinney drinks?
It's not.
He has his own drink. So tell him about your drink.
I do. This is from Whole Foods, by the way, so we can't tell the folks over at Nourish. But no, I have a juice drink. My buddy, Jess Huffman, and Jake and Jerry run Nourish Juice Bar. They've got 3 locations here in the Houston area, one in the Village, one in the Heights, and then one over in the Montrose area. And there's a drink that's named the Mister McKinney, Mister MKinney. And it's a great juice. It's all organic. It's got kale, spinach, cucumbers.
He goes.
I drink them a lot. I really try to try to stay fit and eat as natural as possible, as organic as possible.
You have more energy than I have.
Yeah, I'm not disciplined enough to be vegan. That's a lot of discipline.
Yes.
But vegetarian or eating as low processed foods as possible is a good thing. So yeah, I try to do that and work on that too.
Another thing I didn't mention that we want to do more of is Mr. McKinney's so generous with his bus tours, and we have been programming a lot with each other. He'll bring a group here, and we'll maybe it's a group of 40. And he can have 20 on the bus. Of course, now he has to have half of that.
10,
but we love his bus tours because while he takes 20, we give the other 20 a tour of the Heritage Society and all the different houses, and then we switch. So I think we work really well on that.
Yeah,
Tell them about your bus.
It's
wonderful.
It's a great way to basically if you have 40 people, for example, touring the Heritage Society, and the great thing about the space here is that we have no shortage of buildings, so we can host a lot of people. And I want people
acres.
to 20 acres, by the way, and you could have a convention here. I mean, there's just so much to do here at the Heritage Society. We have a lot of event space, by the way. We have a tea room that's indoor with air conditioning.
True.
We have lots of outdoor patios.
The
Plaza, for example, and then people have been known to tent the space if they so choose. So there's lots of options here, and I think a lot of people forget about the Heritage Society because of just where it's at.
Surrounded by
it's just
tall
nestled,
buildings.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of nestled. And it's funny because if you look at the history of Houston, we see kind of this tug of war with, kind of the east side and west side. So let me give you some perspective. In the 20s, for example, Will Hogg, who was on the Planning Commission, and I'm a Hogg's brother, Will Hogg was really active on the Planning Commission of getting the city to move out to the west. So he was one of the driving forces by putting the Julia Edison Library there in 1926, for example, on the western side, and then really advocating to move City Hall from Market Square further over to where it currently sits when it moved there in 1939. Now, he passed away in 1930, so it happened afterwards. And then famously, he worked hard to get Buffalo Drive paved out west to go towards his real estate development that you grew up in called...
Brace Heights?
Well, River Oaks.
Ireland. Oh, River Oaks.
Close enough, yeah. So Lamar High School, River Oaks area is where their neighborhood was. Of course, they established that in 1924. Will Hogg, Mike Hogg, and then Hugh Potter in 1924. So that basically was the reason why he wanted to move out west.
Oh, gotcha.
Then you flash forward, and we have some energy coming to the east with other projects. Houston Center, for example, things like that.
George R. Brown.
George R. Brown's 1987, for example, out to the west. But in the 60s, we had then the tug of war moving back out. That was at the east, moving back to the west with the Albert Thomas Convention Center, 1967, the 1969 Jones Hall Plaza, the 1966 Jones Hall, and the 1968 Alley Theater. So you can kind of see the city now moving back to the west. Then we moved to the east again with, in the 2008, opening up our brand new park called
Discovery Green.
Discovery Green, which is an awesome partner here in the downtown area, Barry Mandel and the folks that do a great job over there. But that is an example of it moving now out to the east. Talk about some of the future. What's happening now? Because if you drive by the Heritage Society right now, you're going to notice a lot of construction going on.
Absolutely.
And it's good and bad. It's bad for the short period, but definitely good for long term. Talk about what's happening on this side, the western side of downtown Houston now.
Sure. So right now in front of our buildings is called the Bagby Street redevelopment, and they are completely tearing up Bagby Street and making it wider but more pedestrian friendly and bike friendly. So you'll have maybe one lane of traffic, then you'll have a bike lane, then you'll have a pedestrian lane. It's going to be wonderful, and it's huge.
We need that. We need more bikeable,
and it's
walkable.
Starting at the post office, the original post office. You need to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah,
and it's
the old train station, the old 1887 Southern
That's
Pacific
right.
Rail Depot that later becomes the 1960s. It becomes Barbara Jordan Post Office. And then
She's
Frank
in our
Liu.
women's exhibit.
Yeah, Frank
Yes.
Liu ends up, and his son are making that project to the post HTX complex, I believe,
Right.
which is just great. And we're on the cusp of that.
West,
I mean,
yes,
we're just on
western edge. There's a lot of development you may notice along Allen Parkway on the corner of is that Garrett? There's a whole new boutique hotel and some shops coming in
Gillette,
there. Gillette, yes. And there are more things coming up on Dallas. So really, the mayor wants, now that they've worked so much on the east side, the mayor really wants to focus on the west side. There is actually a project called the West Side Master Plan, and the Bagby Street is part of it. But I believe they're going to renovate Herman Square.
Yeah.
And then they're going to do the park across the street from Herman Square.
Tranquility Park, 1979.
That needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
So it's going to be wonderful once it's finished, but right now
which
it's
we
a
hope
bit
they keep.
challenging.
We need your help. A Houston Mod needs your help. All the preservation groups need you to know that we want to keep Tranquility Park, that beautiful 1979 park that's there. I know it's not ideal for some people, but it was done that way on purpose. Let me give you an example. Charles Tapley was the architect for that space in 1979. And when they built it on purpose where it has those craters and different levels, which you're going to notice, which doesn't make it a traditional flat park. We have plenty of flat parks here in Houston. We have one called Discovery Green across the way. We have one called Sam Houston Park. This park is special. It also, by the way, is a rooftop garden because directly below is 3 levels of parking directly below. So it serves a purpose, and I really hope, along with preservations, that they keep this 40-year-old park.
I believe they are.
Well, just keep it traditional. I think they've talked about
keep it
taking
the
out
way
the
it was.
water features, flattening it out, because like I said, it's not very friendly. So we'll see what happens, but if you're a true preservationist, you're one of the ones that doesn't want the park to be destroyed too much. I mean, really, it's about, we can make it functional to where it's usable, but let's keep an eye. And actually, by the way, if you love the Greek festival, you'll love the fact that the 1917 founding of the Greek Orthodox Church, Annunciation Greek Orthodox Church, they started right there on Walker Street in Tranquility Park back in 1917. And then 1952, they moved out to Montrose. So where they're currently located now, actually they tore down the DeGeorge Mansion and some other mansions along Montrose. It's a whole different story. I know, it's horrible. It's horrible. But they've got great food, and they've got one of the world's largest Greek festivals right here in Houston, which showcases our diversity, right? So that's exciting. So if you like the Greek festival, just know they started out in downtown Houston on Tranquility Park's property back in 1917.
And I heard that the library was going to perhaps build a door on the Bagby Street side so that you can access the library for better visibility, which would be great.
The new one, the Jessie H. Jones Library,
not
the 1975 one. Not
Right.
So they're not putting a hole in the original 1926 Edison Library, but that one probably does need it. The Plazas had some issues over time. Just being either overutilized or are interesting. So they're working on those efforts. And I do applaud them for that.
And then the new hotel that was the DoubleTree has repurposed and is now a smaller boutique hotel called the C. Baldwin. And do you all know who C. Baldwin was?
Well, the Heritage Society will tell you all about C. Baldwin. Tell them.
Charlotte Baldwin Allen, who was married to the Allen brothers, came here to start the
City of Houston, August 30th.
Floated up Buffalo Bayou and landed in Allen's Landing, and Charlotte was the wife. The brothers hauled, and Charlotte stayed, and was one major benefactor to Houston. And
she is the mother of Houston, and for good reason. And she's detailed in Betty Trapp Chapman's book, Houston Women. And then she's also a part of numerous exhibits that happen here at the Heritage Society, because they really try to tell everybody's story. And that goes back to that whole idea of diversity. It's not just about the different ethnic groups. It's also about diversity amongst women, amongst LGBTQ. So all these different types of exhibits that we've had here focus on everybody's story. And we're really big on that.
Yes.
And we like ideas. If you have ideas of history that you think we should cover for not just one of these videos, but also for an exhibit here, we love collaborations, and we're always about that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Ginger likes collaboration. So
a lot of exciting things happening with the Heritage Society on the western side of Houston, which we're all really, fortunate to be a part of. We had some super secret conversations on Zoom we probably can't talk too much about, but there's some really great ideas about what to do with this property because of its location and kind of its proximity to some really exciting things.
Right.
So that's kind of neat. And the C. Baldwin, the interior was done by Lauren Rote and her team, which is over in the Esperson building. She does an amazing job.
Right.
And she did the interior for that. And then it used to be the old La Meridian Hotel back in 1972, which is really awesome because people don't really realize this, and I found this fascinating when I learned it a long time ago, that basically American Airlines had a whole series of hotels, the Americana Hotel, which is now called the Whitehall Hotel, which used to then be called the Crown Plaza, which then is now called the Whitehall again. I had a friend, Corinne Vella and Lee Vella got married at the Whitehall.
I know Lee Vella.
Yeah, Lee Vella and his wife, they got married. They had their
They
anniversary,
did?
actually. They got married at the Whitehall.
Oh my gosh.
And she tells me this great story of how she kind of missed it when it changed the name to the Crown Plaza, whatever. It will always be the Whitehall to her, right? And then it goes back to the Whitehall. So I love how they did that. That's really neat when Houston kind of reclaimed some of that history.
Yes.
But Air France had the little Meridian brand. So that was kind of cool that Air France had the Meridian brand too. So I just love the idea of these airlines having hotels or getting in the hotel industry in the 1970s, late 60s and 70s, because they felt like that was a perfect fit, and it kind of was, but it didn't last. So there we go. A little bit of that history there too. So what else about the Heritage Society should people know? We've got about 15 more minutes or so, and it's great to talk about that, and we will do a couple of items that we're going to show people. Oh my gosh, Bill Stubbs, what has he said? Alison and Mr. McKinney, you're doing a great job. You both are wonderful representatives of Houston. Oh, that's the wonderful Bill Stubbs, by the way. If you don't know William Stubbs and his interior design company, Emmy nominated, amazing, personality host and really interior designer. That's what he's known for. He made the top 100 designers in the nation. Oh my gosh, that was in American Digest.
He came to our event a few weeks ago.
He did. He's our honorary chair for our SIP series, which is another one of our projects. Let's segue because the SIP series is extremely popular, and we're going to bring it back when things get better after COVID. So real quick, talk about the SIP series.
SIP series stands for See Interesting Places, and we go out into the city and find wonderful historic buildings or homes. And if the homeowner will allow us, we love to bring people to their home, show off their home, talk about the history of their home. And we have wine and cheese, and it's a fun evening event that we try to do 3 times in the spring and 3 times in the fall. It's members get a discount, and it's otherwise it's there's a small fee to come to the home. I want to say it's $65, $55.
And it's limited. It's always been limited, so people can realize.
We don't publish the address unless you buy a ticket, because we certainly don't want to.
Correct. And it's a fun, secure evening in the house, hosted with these really special homes that you otherwise wouldn't be able to go into. And what's so great about that is that you can also buy a package deal. We offer package opportunities. We offer sponsorship opportunities as well. And I've always been fascinated about why we don't have more realtors or more title companies or more sponsor the SIP series.
Especially if they're trying to sell $1 million house, we'll bring them the people.
It just makes sense to be able to sponsor these, to show off the house, but more importantly, just to kind of connect with your viewers VIP clients and
Right.
invite them to this really cool event. And I remember when I chaired the SIP series, we had it over at the Kirby Mansion, by the way,
Oh,
and now you can no
yes.
longer go in there. And
Yes.
that's an example, by the way, is that we offer these really special, unique opportunities. Sometimes they've actually been in houses that are no longer there. They've been demolished because of other things in their historical homes, for example.
We went
so
to the Esperson building on
Esperson
top
on
of
the top of the
cupola.
cupola. That was extremely rare and an
And the
opportunity.
Hoffheinz mansion. We
Yeah,
went to the Hoffheinz
absolutely.
mansion.
Roy Hoffheinz's
We went to
Branch
the
Street
Blood
house.
and Money house.
Oh, that's right. Robin Clay's house right there on
Yeah.
Kirby Drive in Brentwood. So those are fun houses that we all went to. And we're going to bring back the Esperson. That was one of our most requested events.
Right.
And, we love the folks over there that run that space. And they love the Heritage Society, so they've reached out. And we're going to do something when things get better.
And I want to bring up another event we're trying to host in the fall, keeping our fingers crossed, is our annual luncheon. So we do an evening event in the winter and a luncheon used to be in the spring, but of course we've had to reschedule. This year our speaker is going to be J.P. Bryan of the Bryan Museum.
Oh, yeah.
Who is part of the family of the Texas Old 300. He's our speaker. And then we're honoring the Latimers. Harriet and Truett Latimer are our honorees, and our co-chairs are Dancy and Jim Ware, who are very close to J.P. Bryan and are on his board as well. So we're real excited. It's going to be at the Forest Club. Laura can give you information or go on our website. Of course, we'll follow all CDC guidelines.
Yeah.
We'll spread out all the chairs, but I know people are really going to want to maybe hopefully get out by then. I mean, September,
Yeah.
so we're crossing.
I want to show you one of the items. You definitely keep talking about the event because when people know about it,
this is one of my
but this is an item that Alison Bell asked us to kind of bring out. This is a cookbook that talks about the history of the Heritage Society. It's volume 1, by the way. It was done by the ladies and who ran this place.
The docents. Yeah.
The docents, and you'll see some early Houston names, which is wonderful. Some of the really special recipes. I've got a copy of this in my collection. They have a really nice copy here as well, with also some really cool advertisements of some early businesses here in Houston. So just they're no longer there, which is just some of the really fun items that we have here. So I'll let you put that back, and then I want to show you. I want to show you something over here. By the way, here is this is pretty iconic. This is the 1869 E.E. Wood map. And this particular map talks about the original wards of Houston. You'll kind of see that you've got 1st Ward, 2nd Ward, 3rd Ward, and 4th Ward. Then you later on have 5th Ward over there as well. And then you have the old 6th Ward. And the dividing streets are Congress and Main. So that's kind of where they all kind of come together. But this particular map is a smaller version of the larger one. The larger one is really about 10 feet tall by about 8 feet wide. There's a few of them are here in Houston, but they're not in great condition. This is a good condition, and it's a replica, by the way. This does sell, by the way, for $489. It comes framed, but it's an example. If you have an item for somebody who really, really wants something special, and look at the 1836 original Houston map by Gail Borden and Thomas Borden. It really is awesome because it maps out the city of Houston, the original blocks. What's super cool is Prairie Street was the very last street on this map because everything south of Prairie Street was actually Prairie. Now, another item I want to show you, part of this little show and tell process before we end up closing out, is this fun item. This is rare, and it's really exciting because Alison Bell loves to take this to different events that she shows. Look at this Houston panorama, the Harris County Heritage Society, which is the original name for the organization.
Yes.
There it is. And this particular item is super special because it is a Monopoly board game of Houston's past. And what I love about it, look at the dollars and the money over there. We sure need some of that nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, all this COVID
and
stuff.
Real estate.
And real estate, too. You got the Astrodome cards over here as well. And then you have, look, there's Courtland Place, 1906. There it is, the Shamrock Hotel. There's the 1949 Shamrock Hotel. Old place. This is our oldest house we have on site. It's not the oldest home in Harris County on its original site. That's actually the Kellum Noble House, 1847. But this is the 1823 Old Place, which was moved here. So it's the oldest house in Harris County, not on its original site, but still important. There's the Texas Commerce Tower, we now know as Chase Tower. There's the 1970 Galleria. The Galleria, by the way, is going to be 50 years old this year. It opened in November 16th of 1970. Me too. That's horrible. 50 years old. Golf Building, the beautiful 1929 Golf Building. There's the 1976 Pennzoil Building. What's another Shamrock? There's Union Station, by the way. That's the 1911 Union Station. So really,
and then our park is in the middle of the board, which we love. Some of the houses have been moved, but it just shows you that a quick view of what we have.
Yeah.
This was before we even had all.
And I know we're going to get requests about this board game, but don't ask us because it's not for sale. And we only have one of these in our collection. There's only a few of these out there, by the way. Look at Allen's Landing. But how cool is this? Because it educates young people and adults alike about Houston's past. So it's just another fun thing that we have at the Heritage Society. Maybe we'll do a game night one day. What do you think about that?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, a little game night with all of us at the Heritage Society. So really fun items that we have here to kind of show you. We're going to do more show and tell later on. We're almost out of time, and like I said, the best thing you can do for us is to like and share this video so that you can promote Houston history, promote what we're doing here at the Heritage Society. It matters to us.
Join the Heritage Society.
Join.
Always love new members.
Absolutely. It means a lot to us. So I guess with all of that, what time is it now? We want to honor your time. We've got about 2 more minutes left. So
does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, let's see what questions we have. Let's see. We mostly have cheers, congratulations, all kind things. But like I said, our guest next week on the show for July 8th is going to be Michael Bloodworth. Mr. Bloodworth is amazing when it comes to Houston's aviation history, so you don't want to miss that. He's going to tell us about some really cool airports that existed all throughout Houston. It will shock you what business or subdivision or golf course you're hanging out on that used to be an airport. And he'll talk about all that. Yeah. He's amazing. He's been a guest lecturer here over at the Heritage Society numerous times, and he's going to be live with us next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, same time, same Facebook page, the Heritage Society.
Mark this in your calendar. Put it as a weekly event.
We're going to be
coming to you for the next few Wine Wednesdays.
Wine Wednesdays at the Heritage Society. And then after that, we have on July 15th, Kimber Fountain. Then we come back, we're breaking for the 22nd, and then on the 29th we have with us Stephen Fenberg, who's going to talk about the history of Jesse H. Jones with us for sure. So wonderful. Excited. Toast the Heritage Society and to all the great work y'all do here.
Talking about us and promoting us. I love it. We're excited to be here. Please come visit us anytime. We're always here. I'm always here.
So lastly, how can people get a hold of us again?
You can call us or you can go on our website, heritagesociety.org. We do Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, of course. And of course, just the good old-fashioned telephone. But we are open. Because of COVID, we're open a shorter time during the week, Thursday through Sunday, 10 to 4. So come by anytime. We're not doing tours right now, but when we can all be closer together, we will start the tours.
Excellent. So like I said, don't forget about us. We've been here since 1954, 66 years going strong. We've got some great speakers coming up, including Will Howard's going to kick off Houston's birthday month with this, which is August. And then we'll probably do a virtual birthday party here to really celebrate Houston's birthday with the mayor. Right. He's always so kind to come out, and we've been happy to be able to host Houston's birthday nonstop since 4 years ago. So, well, without that, I guess we're going to say goodbye to y'all. Thank you again for tuning in. Please like and share all of our sites. It means the world to us. Take care, Houston.
Thank you.